Hi YouTube, it's Shanelli here. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the new Ultra FICO credit score that everybody's been talking about in like the personal finance world and the credit world. It's been a whole bunch of articles about it. It's been on the news. And so I figured I would just address it, especially since last week I talked about overdraft protection and overdrawing your bank account. So it really connects to this new credit score model that's coming out. Basically, you guys know, since you watch my other videos, I talked a lot about how to, build up and increase your credit score. You have to think about the factors that are considered. So there's like 5 factors that FICO, Fair Isaac Corporation has used when they developed the credit score. They used those 5 factors to keep in mind. And most of them had to do with borrowing money and paying it back on time. So that's why you needed some form of credit at some point to have an established credit history. That means you needed to either have a personal loan, a student loan, an auto loan, a mortgage, a credit card, some form of having borrowed money for something and then showing that you can pay it back on time responsibly and that you're not gonna like have too much debt that you can't take, that you can't handle all at one time. But now with this new Ultra FICO model, the reason why FICO is putting out a new score, they claim that the reason why is because they're trying to serve people who might be underbanked, which means like there's a bunch of people who might not have access to credit because maybe they didn't know they were supposed to open a credit card, or maybe they didn't know they had to establish credit to be, to eventually be called credit worthy. So maybe they have a bank account with some money in it. Maybe that's what they use to pay all their bills and buy food and do everything they need to do, but they never had any credit. And so if you have no credit score, it's just as bad, if not worse, than having a bad credit score, because nobody's going to know, no companies and banks are going to know if they can trust you and lend you money or not. So they usually will give you a really high interest rate if they do approve you, which means after you are done paying back the money you borrowed, you also have to pay back really high fees. So that's why it's kind of been unfair, the credit game, for a long time, to people who maybe just for whatever reason didn't know that they had to start young to establish credit. So basically what FICO is saying is with this new Ultra FICO score, you can basically add on to your credit history and your credit report information and activity from your bank account. So that means if you have a checking account that you've had for a really long time, but you never had a credit card or a loan or anything like that, then your checking account activity will actually help you. But the thing is, it's still really similar to the way that they treat credit. Age matters a lot. So how long have you had that credit? How long have you had that checking account really matters. If you just opened it a few months ago and now you're trying to show them that, you have good payment history and good activity in your bank account, is not as helpful as if you had a bank account for a really long time, for years, and you've been using it a lot throughout those years. So that's one thing. It really still matters how long. So it's better to start opening bank accounts earlier, no matter what, because that will give you more time. But then it also matters how much money you have in your account. I talked about overdraft protection last week. If you overdraw your account, that actually really hurts. That will hurt your Ultra FICO score, because it shows that you are not able to manage your money. And that's the whole point of having a credit score, is to show if you're financially responsible or not. So if you keep on overdrawing your balance in your bank account, keeps going below zero, that's really bad. So that will start to pull out flags and will hurt your Ultra FICO score, right? Then they also want to see if you can balance out, the amount of money that you have in there, so that if an emergency comes up, you're actually prepared to handle that emergency. So that means you need to have some cushion. You need to have a little bit of like an emergency fund in your bank account. And most people don't really put their emergency fund in their checking account. They usually have it in a savings account, and they just use their checking account for day-to-day activity. At least that's what I do, and I know most people do that too. But now, even if you don't have a savings account, it doesn't matter. You still need to have an emergency fund in a checking account. And Ultra FICO, so far from like my research and everything, people have been saying that it's about $400 what they want to see in your checking account at all times. So basically they want to know if an emergency happened, you have at least $400 there in your checking account, in your bank account, that you would use to be able to cover your emergency. So in theory, and the idea of it seems like they are really trying to help people. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of people who are struggling, that actually still live paycheck to paycheck, are going to find this to be really stressful, because they're going to end up having a bad credit score if their bank account activity is not what FICO says it's supposed to be. And, that at the end of the day, even though they're trying to help people, I could see that certain people might see that as like a frustrating thing anyway. But that aside, they said that there's like millions of people in America that use bank accounts but don't have credit yet or can't get credit, that this is actually going to help them. So hopefully, even if it just increases their score by 20 points or something like that, it will give them access to either better rates when they get loans, or even just the fact that they will start to get approved for a loan. If their score goes from like below 650 to above 650, now all of a sudden they could start getting approved for loans that they were getting denied for before. So basically, this is supposed to be more opportunity for people who need or want more credit and more loans and stuff like that. You know, access to money. And so that is what this new Ultra FICO score is about. It's basically saying we're not just looking at when you borrow money and pay it back on time. We're also looking at your banking activity and your banking behaviors, because that is important, and that does give us information about what kind of financial person you are, if you're really responsible with money or not. So just make sure your banking is on point, on top of your credit behavior and your credit card usage and your loans, payments, and all this stuff. Now it's kind of an extra thing that you have to make sure that you're on top of. So, you know, obviously don't just take my word for it. Do your research too. There's a lot of information out there. Just Google Ultra FICO score and you'll see all of the buzz. But I thought, you know, it'd be a really great thing to post and start getting people to pay attention to it, because they say that it's coming out in early 2019. Nobody knows what that means. If that means January, February, March, if that means May, who knows? But 2019 is when it's supposed to come out. So, you know, just keep an eye out on the news for stuff like this, because it could really affect your score. Your score could go up or down depending on the new rules that they put out. And so, you know, it's just important that we stay informed. I hope this video was helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody that you know. If you want to follow me on social media, here are my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter handles. Follow me there too. I like to connect with people that find me on YouTube in all of those places as well. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, hit the subscribe button right now and join me on this journey. I post videos like every week on Thursdays usually, and sometimes I do lives on random nights and weekends. And if you want to reach out to me, you can email me at MissBeHelpful@gmail.com. That's all I have for you guys this week. Till next time, peace.